Hello and welcome to a YouTube exclusive episode of Generation S. That's Lou and Dan Vorbeck today. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Lou. How are you?
I'm good. It's bittersweet to be doing this episode. Me and you have talked about doing a few projects on here, and I promise, folks, we're gonna get to the video game stuff. We're gonna get to Mario Kart 64 one day, very soon, because actually our WCW Revenge N64 review is one of our more popular uploads, but also what is of one of our more popular uploads on the YouTube side is the Power Rangers episodes, and we released them kind of out of order. It was right when we first started doing this, and it kind of got lost in translation, so to speak, so we uploaded the top 10 list on YouTube, never got around to the actual episode of Power Rangers, and something happened.
Something kind of big happened.
Something happens, and it's one of those things for me, and I don't want to speak for you, Dan, but I'm sure it affected, you don't want to say affected, but it hit you, I'm sure, a little bit. One of those things where, do you remember where you were when?
Yeah.
I was actually, I don't know if I told you this, I know Dan Kemp I told, because he was the one that broke me the news. My mom was selling her house literally that day. Like, not just, oh, I'm signing the paperwork and it's going out. Like, this is the last day we have the house. The movers have come. The house is completely empty. She needed to go get something, like a new doormat. Like, so she wanted to give something, like a new doormat or new keys for the owners, like a little thank you note.
Little thank you note for paying in cash.
Yeah. Don't tell no one. A little something. So there's about a half hour. I'm like, I want to be here when she locks up and this and that and all that good stuff. And I'm just watching YouTube. I was watching actually pro wrestling. There's another surprise. And I get an alert or the text that pops up on the screen and it just says JDF died. Jason David Frank. And I'm like, that can't be. Like,
I thought it was a goof. I'm like, all right, so they're doing like the Jason thing where he killed a bunch of people, and they're like, oh, Jason David Frank died. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, or Tommy Oliver died. Yeah, like Tommy Oliver died. Some news outlet didn't say Tommy Oliver died. Jason David Frank died. I'm like, nah,
yeah,
that can't be. So my last memories in my mom's house was that, which sucks.
Yeah, kind of end of 2 hours right there, huh?
Yeah, it certainly was, and that one hit hard.
Yeah, you know, celebrities when they die, especially under not so great circumstances, sometimes you're like, that's sad, but I didn't really relate with them. But he was one of those celebrities, and I'll say celebrity because he was popular, that when he passed, I was like, oh man, that's really terrible. I'm really, really genuinely sad about that.
The only one that upset me more than this, and this one actually did upset me more, dare I say, yes, a celebrity. If you consider a pro wrestler a celebrity.
Yeah, they were definitely celebrities in the 90s.
Eddie Guerrero, for anybody that's a wrestling fan, and I will make this super brief. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, you can relate to the story of somebody. Eddie Guerrero was a wrestler, smaller guy, wasn't going to be the top guy on the company. He got in some really bad drug addiction, alcohol, almost killed himself in a car crash. Came back from it, more drug addictions, got let go. I went to an independent show. An independent show is like an independent music show. It's very, very small in Queens, New York. And Eddie just walked through the crowd that was waiting to get in, and he was really nice to everybody. And, you know, everybody kind of knew Eddie was trying to get on the up and up, and it was pretty cool. And he didn't seem like he was too big to be there. He's very nice. And 1 year after that, I went to WrestleMania 20 at the Garden with my dad, and he won the world title in the main event, which was pretty awesome. And then like 2 years later, unfortunately, he passed away. So that like hit me really hard. I'm like, oh, I saw this guy hit rock bottom, saw him try to redeem himself. He did redeem himself, and oh, by the way, he's gone now. I'm like, oh man, that hurt. That's the only celebrity death that actually bothered me more than Jason David Frank.
For me, I would have to say it would have been Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know who Leonard Nimoy was, who I can't imagine there's many of you, but he played Spock on the original Star Trek, and, he played Spock his entire life. But I grew up as a kid watching Star Trek, and Spock was a huge, huge presence in that show. And, when he passed away, I mean, he was also very old, but when he passed away, it was kind of like the end of a generation for me as well.
Yeah, and everybody has their different reasons for connecting with somebody, and we're going to go through the character of Tommy Oliver. This isn't going to be us just talking about James David Frank, because frankly, no pun intended with that lingo right there, frankly, we don't know Jason David Frank, the person. We've had an interaction with him for literally, I would say, a cup of coffee, more like a shot, so to speak, than a cup of coffee.
Twice.
You twice, me once.
Yeah.
Now I'm really kicking myself. I could have met him last spring of 22, and I couldn't get out of work. But regardless, I mean, maybe we should touch on that first. If you want to share your experiences of when you, because these are meet and greets. These weren't just personal
quick.
one-on-one, quick pleasantries and this, that, and the other. But if you want to share your experience, and I'll go ahead with mine, and then we can get into the brief. We're going to keep it brief. If there's a folks want us to go deeper into these, we certainly will. We have some other characters we may do on the Power Rangers side with this character arc, but if you want to go ahead and share your experiences meeting JDF.
So meeting people, obviously we've been going to Comic-Con together for 10 years in a row now,
give or take, but you were going there before me.
Yeah, so anybody who's gone to a Comic-Con or meet and greet or some whatever fan comic publicity thing, you see celebrities that you like, and sometimes they're very pleasant, very nice, and they want to talk to you, and they're interested in you, and obviously they can't spend an hour talking to every fan, but they try. They try and make it worth your while, because they know you waited in line, you paid, and all that good stuff. And some celebrities are, I'm going to sign my name and throw an 8x10 at you, have a nice day, kind of thing. JDF was the former. He always made time for every fan in that line. You wanted a picture on your cell phone, even though they were like, oh, it's supposed to be $10 more. He was like, nah, whatever. Just whip out your cell phone. Let's take a selfie kind of thing. Shook everybody's hands, asked everybody's names. Was one of the people who I've met who genuinely appreciated his fans. Who always cared about his fans, because he knew his fans put him where he was. And, always treated the crowd, got the crowd hyped up, always interacted with people, and he was always nice to me. I met him twice, and I had him sign my, not the Lightning Collection, but the one before that.
Legacy Collection.
The Legacy Collection. I had him sign my Dragon Dagger
stuff.
on the handle.
The good
and,
stuff.
He didn't go, whatever, this is kind of dumb. But, I had him sign it in silver on the handle, and he's like, this is cool. This is going to look cool. You going to frame it? And he was interested in it, And even if he was faking, it was still nice.
Yeah, it's nice. And I believe it was the second time you met him, I was with you. And I remember we were online, and it was a long line.
It was always a long line for him. Always.
A long line for him, to the point that the end of the line was covering the sign that who was in that particular area. If you've never been to Comic-Con in New York, I'm not sure how other ones are. Imagine just a giant room. There's a huge room, football-sized room.
For those of you who go to the car show, it's where they put the pickup trucks and stuff.
Yes, so football-sized room, and each table has a line with the guardrails, so they always knock down. But at the very end, they have a sign of who's there. His line was so long it covered or wrapped around where the name was. So people were walking past it, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because at the end of the day, it is Power Rangers. People still kind of, it's Power Rangers. And they would go, well, who's on that? Whose line is this for? That's for Jason David Frank, or you'd say the Green Ranger. Really? They were surprised that his line was so long, because you thought it would be, again, no disrespect, like William Shatner or Ernie Hudson, somebody, I can't think of the right word. I'm not even going to go there, but you can determine that however you want to. That's
more mainstream.
Yeah, more mainstream is a good word. Thank you for that, Dan. They were surprised. And I remember a few things from that visit, meeting him, was we were waiting online, and do you remember that he got called, because he was taking so long in a good way, because he's talking to everybody. He had to go do an interview with somebody, and he stood up on the chair and yelled, "I'm sorry, I gotta go, but if you bought a ticket, I promise I'll get to you."
He had to go do the photos.
Oh, yes, you're right.
You had to go do the photos.
And then professional. You can do a selfie and an autograph. Or you could do like a professional photo with like a green screen or something like that. And he jogged down the aisle and was giving everybody high fives. Thank you. I'll be back. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate it. And then when he came back, same thing up. Thank you for waiting. I'm so sorry. I'll take care of everybody. Don't worry. Nobody else did that.
No.
Nobody else did that.
No.
And then the other story I have with him is, you might recall this. There was a guy our age, probably mid-20s at that point, late 20s.
Yeah, I'd say mid to late 20s.
A kid was with him. Let's say the kid was like 10, 12 years old, and his mom wasn't online with him, but in reality, the kid's not going to go anywhere, so that's not too big of a deal. The kid didn't have enough for either the autograph or the photo, like the actual selfie photo. So when you bundle them, they usually knock off a couple bucks. So the guy turned around to the kid and said, well, I'm just getting an autograph. If you want, we can bundle it, save some money, and you could take the photo and I'll take the autograph. Well, JDF gets up and he's, signing the autograph. Like, all right, you guys taking a photo together? He's like, oh, no, just he is, meaning the kid, because, we bundled this together so you could save some money. JDF stands up, takes a photo with the guy for free, gives the guy the money back for taking care of the kid, and then takes a photo and gives the kid an 8x10 for free.
Yep, I remember that. And that I do. As soon as you started telling the story, I was like, oh, yeah, this is good. And this defines who he was as a celebrity that you could meet. He would do that stuff, and I've heard so many stories about him doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never heard anything bad about him at a convention with fans. Now, there's been some disagreements with other celebrities, but that's not us to talk about. We weren't there. That's hearsay. It could also be, hey, let's pretend we have an argument so we can get some clicks. Like you wanted to fight CM Punk in MMA. Sure, go for it. But our experiences with Jason David Frank, Tommy Oliver were positive. So let's try to we're going to make this a positive retrospective. Obviously, we're not going to go into the last couple days or whatever. It's not my business. It's not Dan's business. We're not family. We're not friends.
We don't know the details other than what the tabloids and the news say. So, we weren't there.
Yeah, and it's not our place. Now to sound corny for a second.
You haven't been corny up until this point?
Just a little bit.
I'm just kidding.
If you need help, go get it. It's not me to stand on a soapbox. We're not a big platform. But for some reason, if somebody resonates with this, good job. If you need help, get it. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, especially now with what we've all gone through in the last 3 years or so. If you need help, go get it. Somebody out there will help you. Don't worry about ramifications. Don't worry about medical bills. If you need help, there's no embarrassment in getting it.
I got it.
Yep. There's nothing
2020, I got divorced and I was in a bad place and I got help and I'm, the happy, jolly guy you see in front of you now.
He is. Well, you don't. I see him. Now he's waving his hand in front of his face. I can't see him for some reason. Damn you, Peacemaker Cena. All right, so here we go. We're going to take a semi-deep dive into Tommy Oliver, the original Green Ranger and White Ranger and Red Zeo Ranger and Red Turbo Ranger and Black Dino Thunder Ranger. Jeez. And White Ninja Ranger, technically. There is a lot. But like I said, this is not going to be super, super deep. So, Dan, I'm just going to kind of read off some bullet points that if you have some memories or something you want to chime in about, because there's one part, and we're going to go chronologically. We're going to start with Mighty Morphin season 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And then gradually go down. It's even going to be his one-off appearances later in the series. Mega
the
Force
anniversary episodes and stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to go into those too. I did watch an episode literally right before we started this. I'll let you know which one it was. I wanted to get in the right frame of mind. I'm like, oh, if I want to talk about them, maybe I should look at something first and see how I feel. Because I've been out of the loop. Like, the week that it happened, I was in the Power Rangers Reddit. I'm like, I'm done. I need a break. Everybody wants to post there. And I get it, and I understand, and I respect it. I'm not making fun of anybody because that's a collector. I have my Lightning collection figures also. I don't need to see 25 posts in a day about your Lightning collection figures taking a knee or holding helmets. That's awesome. I'm not making fun of you. It was just actually starting to affect me. I didn't need it like the news. I don't need the news every time I turn on my phone. I don't need to know Jason David Frank's not with us anymore every time I turn it on.
True.
So we wanted to wait a little bit, let the dust settle. We were going to do this anyway, but the circumstances were there. I feel like it's almost like a closure. And we did upload the actual other Mighty Morphin Power Ranger episode, but had to put a disclaimer on it because, oops, we're talking about how he's going to be in the 30th anniversary show. So here we go. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season Uno. So Tommy Oliver is introduced in a 5-part series called Green with Evil. Rita sees Tommy and says, hey, he's pretty fine. He's a good-looking guy. Pretty strong.
That long hair. Dark bandana.
Hair. Yeah, he's already wearing green, so I'm going to have to tell him what to wear. Look at this. He already dresses the part. Dress for the job you want. So he already wanted to be the Green Power Ranger. He is seduced to the dark side, so to speak. Possessed, if you will. And this, and me and Dan Kemp discussed this in our Power Ranger episode. Damn, this is one of the few things I want to stop and actually talk about. And because I already have. Your thoughts on watching this as a kid, where the Green Ranger, he was bad, but he was cool. I think, in my eyes, he was the first cool bad guy.
I'm not as big into wrestling as you guys are, but it was part of that Attitude Era, where bad was cool.
Yep.
Where anti-heroes kind of started becoming a bigger and bigger thing. I remember in the Spider-Man, the animated show, Venom was an awesome character.
Yep. In the wrestling world, we call him a tweener, in between good guy and bad.
Also, Blade came out.
Yep.
And that was a hero, but as a kid, he was the first like cool bad guy where you're like, all right, the Power Rangers are good. They're good all the time. They help with the community. But now here comes a guy, not only is he evil, but he's he's like a cool dude, and he's got an awesome outfit. I think the second I saw the outfit, I was like, hey, he's the coolest Ranger.
Yeah, that shield was second to none in the Japanese version. The American version, not so much. It looked like gold-colored tinfoil.
It probably was.
It probably was. So he fights the Rangers, and he wins a lot. He wins. He destroys. Yep, he destroys the command center, gets rid of Zordon for a little bit, but eventually good triumphs over evil, and the Sword of Darkness and the spell that Rita had on him is destroyed, and he joins the Power Rangers in a very funny celebration, because how else would the Power Rangers celebrate? Let's morph! So he becomes the 6th Ranger, and we're not going to go into the differences between the American and the Japanese,
because they're so vastly different. We'd have 30 episodes just on that.
We certainly would. So basically, it turns out that Tommy is going to have weakened powers. So Rita decides to use a evil green candle. That's kind of different in a way.
Man, did I hate candles.
And spiders. And spiders. You mentioned candles and spiders, 2 things you don't like. So that weakens Tommy, and that was like the first incarnation or first try to get him out of his powers. One of the more famous stories or episodes with Tommy in a good way is actually one where Rita almost wins, because Rita doesn't. There's not a lot of to be continued with Rita.
There weren't a lot of 2-parters with her.
I mean, the big one was the Countdown to Doomsday, which was supposed to be the end of the show, but toys were selling off the shelf. I blame myself.
So do I.
So they decided to keep going with the series. So this episode is when Rita kidnaps all the students of Angel Grove High School's parents. There's an idea. And
sounds oddly familiar.
Tricks the Rangers into giving their power coins to free everybody, but she's a bad guy, and she's not going to do that. Tommy's able to morph into the Green Ranger with help from Zordon. His powers are kind of unstable, which is foreshadowing for what another Ranger will do down the road in space. And he's able to get through it, but he kind of needs these energy boosts to keep going. So I found it, as a kid, frustrating, because I just wanted a Green Ranger.
That's it. That's all you wanted.
That's all I wanted, was the Green Ranger and the Dragon Zord, and let's go. That's all I wanted to see. So, continuing with that, Lord Zed, who scared the living daylights out of every kid and was every parents' nightmare in the 90s. Imagine if Twitter was around when Lord Zed came out.
Yeah, it would have been canceled the first episode.
It would have been terrible.
Would have been over.
He's too scary. Well, he's a bad guy. He's supposed to be scary.
He's got organs on the outside. You can see his brain.
Yep.
I'm offended, and then that's it. It's over.
So on and so forth. So all that good stuff. So Lord Zed continues that trend of bad guys coming down, trying to drain the Green Ranger power. Eventually it happens, but he's too popular of a character. This is the only part I'm really going to go behind the scenes of. He was too popular of a character, not just the Green Ranger, but just Tommy in general was too popular. He was supposed to go on VR Troopers. Do you remember that show?
I do remember VR Troopers. And you know this more than anybody. I had the toys from the VR Troopers.
You certainly did. I did too. And I don't recall us ever talking about this. Did you take your VR Troopers and
use
Superhuman
them as bad guys
Samurai?
for the Power Rangers?
Did you have Superhuman Samurai also?
No, I don't think so.
I had them, but I did do the same thing. You beat me to it. You know where I was going. This is what happens when you're friends since high school. Use those toys as more bad guys or heroes or whatever for Power Rangers. And they were cheaper, too. You can get, like, 2 for the price of 1 because they were always on discount.
When figures were $3.99.
Yeah, at KB. And if they were on sale, it was like 2 for $5 or 2 for $4 or something like that.
Exactly.
Now you need, like, a month's salary to get a toy for a kid.
$19.99 figure.
Yeah. So he was too good to get off the show. He's probably moving too much merchandise again, because that's what it's all about. Brought him back as the White Ranger, the powers created by the light of goodness, and became, to this day, the only, because Power Rangers is going to his 30th year, the only leader of the Power Rangers that was not a Red Ranger. So do you recall seeing that and be like, wait, but Jason's there, the Red Ranger, and why is...
Yeah, he kind of got overshadowed. Which I felt a little bad for Jason, because he wasn't a bad Ranger leader, but...
No, I agree.
Once that White Ranger came down, I was like, but he's not that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a talking saber cat sword.
Yeah, Saba was pretty cool. Funny story about that is I got the White Ranger Tiger Zord toy, like 2-pack, before the debut of him on TV.
Oh, nice.
And I thought it was like some like really upscale, cheap knockoff. Because any kid that was a Power Ranger fan, at least in New York, I would say any major city, would go to the local toy store or like the dollar stores and see powerful Rangers or Rangers with power or whatever, and they were awful. But this I saw, I go, oh, even if it's fake, that looks really cool. And like a couple weeks later, I go, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Real.
It is real.
Yeah, it was a 2-pack. He came with the Zord and the 12-inch figure, right?
Yes. There was the 12-inch figure and the Tiger Zord, which was an awesome Zord. I was in the same boat as you. I don't, even as a kid, I'm like, why is he the leader? Now, when Jason leaves, you have the new Red Ranger, Rocky. Not a knock on Rocky, but it's just...
Not the same.
That should have been when Tommy took over. But that's either here nor there. Here's one part. This to me is really confusing. Tell me if you remember this. I've read this on Reddit, and people are like, this just, if this is canon, this messes up everything in Power Rangers. And this is, again, grown men and women in spandex. But I digress. So Tommy...
It's real to me.
Yeah. Tommy fights a clone of himself named Tom. That's originality.
Yeah.
Created by Lord Zed's Wizard of Deception, which was a pretty cool-looking bad guy, if you remember him.
I do remember him.
Tom is given the powers of the Green Ranger. Where did they come from? I don't know. Tommy battles Tom, trying to destroy the clone, but then realizes Tom is not evil, but he's under a spell. But it's not actually a clone. It's Tommy's ancestor. I guess we're in Back to the Future territory where Biff Tannen has every ancestor look exactly like him. So they fight. They get him out of the spell. And here's the thing. He lets Tom keep the Green Ranger powers. That doesn't... I need a flux capacitor, and Doc Brown, who actually we just met at Comic-Con, he was super nice, Christopher.
Time travel gives me a headache.
So you're giving a guy from the Wild West the Green Ranger powers? So if that happens, then that means Tommy doesn't actually get it, and unless Rita time travels and gets it, I don't know. I don't know.
Rita finds them so many years later. So
it's weird. It was a weird storyline.
It's a weird episode.
And that's staying alive. You're talking about a Power Ranger eating pig. That this is a weird episode. It's just for the canon of everything, it doesn't make any sense. I just remember seeing the White Ranger versus White versus Green Ranger in the suits, and that was a pretty cool deal to see.
That was a cool episode. I would probably have to go back and watch that because it sounds familiar. I remember them fighting, but his ancestor from the Wild West thing that doesn't ring any bells. So it's probably been a long time since I've seen that episode. But yet at the same time, I go, yeah, something about an Indian reservation and something like that kind of thing.
Kind of. And now we're going into season 3, so he is still the White Ranger. Rita Revolto comes to Earth and destroys the Zords and Power Coins. This, again, very abridged. Him and Goldar. Goldar actually did something. He should get a promotion, finally. He receives the White Ninja Ranger powers, which is another toy they can make.
Yep.
And the Falcon Power Coin and the Falcon Zord, which I didn't like as a kid, but it grew on me looking back at these.
It had missiles that shot out of its wings. I was down for it from the very beginning.
Yeah, but the Tiger Zord were so... You went from the Dragon Zord to the White Tiger Zord, and I feel like anything after that was going to be like a little bit of a letdown.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yes, but Falcon Zord is still cool. This is also where he meets Kat, the second Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger. Long story somewhat short, she gets possessed same way Tommy did. And I kind of like the way they did this. Looking at a kid's show, the way they bonded was just, well, I'm cute and you're cute. Let's just get together. They bond over Tommy saving her. She feels bad because she did some bad things when she was possessed. Tommy's like, listen, I've been there. I've done that. It doesn't define you. So they get a romance going. And then boom goes the command center. And now they got to go find the Zeo Crystal. Not the movie Zeo Crystal, the actual Zeo Crystal.
Yeah.
He has got the tough task of getting it from underneath Rita and Zed's palace. He has to go get it. They're turned into kids for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, I was so
It was
dumb.
Stupid. It was stupid.
I understand we're talking about the Power Rangers, but there were some things that even the Power Rangers did that were like, come on. We're kids, but we're not idiots.
Yes. So young Tommy gets set in the past to find his piece of the Zeo Crystal, and he gets the red one. Surprise.
Right.
Because he's the leader. And now we are going into Power Rangers Zeo, which is my favorite team. I love this team. I liked a clear defined Tommy as the leader. I liked Billy in the command center. I thought Adam was a solid number 2 in command.
I agree.
I thought Rocky was a number 2 in command, so you have him as your number 3 was very good. I always associate this with, or looking at it as, this is Tommy's team.
I would agree, because the original team was Jason's team.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like a mix for a while, and now it's Tommy's team.
It is. And even the Turbo Rangers, like, it's not really. Nobody claims to own the Turbo Rangers.
No.
Like, even in the reunion shows, like, Tommy's never Red Turbo. TJ is the Red Turbo Ranger in one episode. After that, he's like, yeah, I'm Blue Space. I'm good. Let's rock it. We're good.
Turbo was the dirty stepchild of the Power Rangers in the United States, at least.
It was. So we're into Zeo, which is now season 4. He is the team leader. Red Zeo number 5, Zeo Ranger number 5. This is when he gets the Dear John letter from Kimberly. So they're done.
They're done.
No long-term relationship via pen pals, because that was probably super hard to have.
Because there was no FaceTime or Snapchat or Instagram
Tinder or whatever.
Tinder or whatever else was out there.
Got to use smoke signals. She was in Paris for the Pan Global Games.
Dial-up AOL.
Yeah. So Tommy and Kat begin dating. So this is an arc that we're seeing kind of take fold here. We saw it in season 3. It's in season 4. For a kid's show, going 2 seasons worth of relationship is, if it's not Dawson's Creek or Saved by the Bell, it's pretty impressive.
90210.
Yep. So they get new Zords, obviously, more toys. He gets the Red Battle Zord, and here's a quick little thing about the character development of Tommy. He's unable, the Red Battle Zord's connected to your emotions.
Yes.
So he's unable to calm himself. He's kind of agitated. He's nervous. Whatever the excuse is in that episode. So he goes on a spiritual journey to find peace of mind, meets up with his long-lost twin brother, David Trueheart, who is portrayed by JDF's real brother, Eric Frank.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say that, and we can move forward. I don't know how Eric Frank is. I did not do my research on that. Shame on me. But storyline-wise, yeah, just going to leave that big matzo ball out there.
He could, if he has any interest in it, he might step into the role. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Never say never.
I never say, you know what, I have no idea. I have no idea where his headspace. Obviously, it's going to be probably a couple of years before he considers it. But.
So they have a 6th Ranger in Zeo Ranger Gold, and I was disappointed as a kid that it wasn't Billy. I really liked Billy. But also, I was super psyched that Jason was back.
Also true.
So they make it that they're losing. Billy can't morph anymore, which is terrible to hear as a kid. Tommy goes, I got somebody, and Tommy in storyline is the guy that gets Jason back. Jason is also the person that another time Tommy gets brainwashed. So this is the second time he's been brainwashed. He was brainwashed by Rita.
Yep.
Now he's brainwashed by the Machine Empire, thinking that the Rangers are a threat.
Right.
It's a pretty good episode. One of the better ones of Zeo, where it's Kat and Jason that have to calm him down. So that happens as well. And this just popped in my head as I'm doing this. If I'm wrong, I apologize. If I'm right, good on me. I believe that Zeo was the first Power Ranger team up because they teamed up with the Rangers of Aquitar, the Alien Rangers, from when they were kids. I think they do.
I think that seems right. At least in the United States version.
Yes. So I think that is correct. I have not confirmed that. That is something that just popped in my head. If that's true, then Tommy Oliver is the first part of the first team to team up with other Rangers. So again, foreshadowing for leading big teams. So Zeo ends. Why? Who knows? It just ends. It just
Even though they're supposed to be the most powerful Rangers ever created.
Yes. So if you're ever on Reddit and they go, what team is the most powerful of all time, do you think? The answer is the Zeo Rangers. Correct. Because they get more powerful over time. So the older we get, the more powerful they get, and the easier that conversation gets to have. So we go into Turbo, and the Zeo powers work because you see Kat morph for a split second in the movie, which is canon.
Which is horrible.
Yeah, but you know what? At least it's canon, though.
Yeah, no, I know it's canon, but...
The original movie is just not good, and it doesn't count.
Right.
But you do have that really good theme song.
That's true.
So Turbo movie and the season are kind of meshed together. Not a lot happens. That's good. It's regarded as one of the worst seasons of Power Rangers. Definitely, I would say most fans of the Zordon era say that this is the worst season. You do see the Zeo powers in Turbo. They just stopped using them. Again, we don't know why. Tommy and the Turbo Rangers. I'm not even talking about the blue one. I'm just going to say the Turbo Rangers. I'm not going down that path.
For those of you listening who don't know, and I don't know why you're listening if you don't know, it's just a kid, and then when he morphs, he becomes a full-size adult. Whatever.
It makes it makes no makes no sense. And we're talking about Power Rangers, and as a kid, I hated it. Did you like it as a kid?
No, I didn't like the Blue Turbo Ranger at all.
I didn't like it either.
You couldn't find another teenager to be the Blue. Anyway.
Rocky got a bad gig. Him and the team rescue Jason and Kimberly, and there's this one line from Jason in the movie where he's possessed, and he snaps off the chains that were, he was being held prisoner, and he says the line of, now I'm the one with all the power. And that has been looked at as kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit. Mm-hmm. Of them not having the best professional relationship. Again, that's hearsay. We're not going to go into that. Also, maybe Jason was going to come back in another role. I don't know, but it's an interesting line. Turbo happens, and that's exactly how I was going to describe it. Turbo happens.
It happens.
TJ is a new guy in the area. Him and some friends are hanging out, just like Rocky, Adam, and Aisha during the Mighty Morphin era. There's some new people coming around, and he saves Tommy. Tommy's going to be graduating high school. He wants to go to MIT. That's important. Remember, he wants to go to MIT.
Correct.
He passes on the power, and off he goes. So that is the end of Tommy as a Power Ranger. Season 1 through 5. Any, before we get into like the second half, so to speak, of this retrospective, any thoughts on the original Tommy or full-time Tommy Oliver run as a Power Ranger?
I just remember as a kid, every time you turned on the Power Rangers in the 90s and even the early 2000s, you were like, this guy's still in the show kind of thing. And, like, Tommy's still in this show. You're like, oh, all right. And then the next season would come out and Tommy's still in the show. You're like, okay. And then the next season comes out and you're like, Tommy's still in the show.
He's this guy.
Which was great, but he became the guy. When you thought Power Rangers, you picture his face. More so than any of the other original Rangers. I think when anybody now goes Power Rangers, they would think of, the Green Ranger. Yeah, that's probably the most popular.
Yeah, I would say so. And also, I think another part of JDF's legacy is he was the guy that wasn't embarrassed to stay on.
No.
He was the guy that wasn't embarrassed to do an autograph signing because he was a Power Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy that wasn't embarrassed to do reunion shows, although he wasn't the first. Gotta say that.
No, he wasn't the first, but he was always happy to do them.
He wanted to do them. So that's, I think, why he gets I don't want to say all the fanfare, but the fanfare that he gets is because of this. Right. And also he probably moves the merchandise even now. And again, I don't understand when folks say, I don't know why they're making another Tommy figure. Well, when Hasbro gets their revenue reports and they go, wow, Tommy sold X amount and everybody else sold Y amount, we should probably stop making Tommy figures. No. They're going to keep making them until they stop being sold.
Now, the reason I said I keep watching this season and he's still in the show, obviously Power Rangers took a back burner for us later years of grammar school, high school, things like that. But I remember you getting me back into the show when you showed me the intro to Dino Thunder.
Yes, and we were going to get there in a second.
That'll be the segue right there.
Yes, so here we go. In college, like Dan said, high school, there's no way. No way. Coming from the guy that watched wrestling, no way I was watching Power Rangers. Did not watch it. I do remember getting up one morning and seeing it, and I'm pretty sure, I want to say it was Lost Galaxy. It was something in space.
Probably at that point it was
and
Lost
I
Galaxy.
Said to myself, is Tommy still on it? I remember saying, is Tommy still on it? I probably watched 5 minutes of it and I'm done. So I remember in college, this is when YouTube was coming out. Oh, God, I sound old. So we're talking 08, 09.
YouTube coming out.
Yes, YouTube, or becoming bigger.
Nope, coming out.
Don't know how I found out, but I remember reading, hey, there was a 10th season or 10-year Power Ranger anniversary, and every Red Ranger was on it. And I go, well, that sounds really cool. And I just saw the morphing sequence, and I'm like, whoa, this is terrible and awesome at the same time. So here we go. Forever Red. I would say if you have not seen this episode, I'm guessing 95% of the people that are listening to this have seen this episode. But for some chance, if you have not seen this episode, do yourself a favor and find it. Find it on YouTube. Find it on Netflix. It is exactly what I said it was. It is a continuation of Mighty Morphin with the new generation of Rangers. It's 10 Red Rangers, all brought together by Tommy to battle the generals of the Machine Empire, who's the villains from Zeo, because they're resurrecting Lord Zed, villain from Mighty Morphin, his Zord Serpentina. The fact that is awesome, and the fact that they can get 10 Rangers to sign on is amazing.
And if I'm correct, that was in Wild Force?
Correct. You are right. I apologize if I didn't say that. It is season 10.
It's in the season Wild Force, yeah.
Yes. Power Rangers Wild Force. The episode is called Forever Red. The only Red Ranger they didn't get, do you know, by chance, to sign up for that?
The only Red Ranger they didn't get to sign up. Was it Rocky?
You're right. It was Rocky, which is why the Red Alien Ranger is put in, because it wanted 10. Apparently, Rocky was moving, legitimately. I can't remember the actor's name. Was moving, and they lost touch with him. And he was going to morph into the Red Ninja Ranger. So the Ninja Ranger is the one from season 3 with like the mask covering like a ninja.
Right.
So he was supposed to be, the second Red Ranger in between Mighty Morphin and Zeo, but they lost touch with him, which is why they brought in the Red Alien Ranger to be the number 10. Great episode. I would have liked it to be a little bit longer. I think everybody wanted it to be longer than one episode.
You don't have to watch any other episode in that entire season to get what's going on either. You don't have to watch a single one. You just watch Forever Red, and you're like, I get what's going on.
Yep, you do. One thing which is weird, so this takes place 5 years after Turbo, and Tommy's shown owning, not running, owning a resort or a tiki at a resort, and his employees are Bulk and Skull.
Yes, I remember that they were in that too.
Yes.
And I went, wow, those guys are still in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Bulk went into, oh boy, I think he went to a season after in space, so he was the longest running tenured character continuously, because he was into, I want to say, season 6, but, so Tommy was doing good. Remember, in Turbo, season 5, he was leaving, he had just graduated high school, was going to MIT for college. 5 years later, he has his own business.
Which makes sense if you're smart enough to go to MIT, that probably graduate in 4 years, then own your own
Or
business.
mom and dad had money. Interesting.
Maybe, but more likely that he graduated from MIT and was able to do anything he wanted.
So it's interesting because this is the first time you're seeing Tommy outside of being the normal everyday Power Ranger, that he's still keeping tabs on things. He's like semi-retired. It's kind of like an athlete, like, I'm retired, but
I still watch every Sunday.
I still watch, and I could still go. If you need me, call me.
Right.
I can't give you a full season, but I can give you a push to the playoffs. Dino Thunder. And like Dan hinted at, this was the season that got us back into it, but not at first. Do you remember where we were and what we were doing?
I remember we were at your mom's house.
No.
No. Well, when you showed me the clip of Dino Thunder, we were. This is what I remember, and there's gaps in my memory from that area. So, I remember you're like, there's a clip of a show you have to watch, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to just see your reaction. And you played the intro to Dino Thunder, but only the part where you saw Tommy running through the woods.
I think you're right.
Because that was the first time I had done anything with Power Rangers, as far as I remember, since, like 7th grade or 8th grade.
I remember what I saw that got me into it. We were at Dan Kemp's house for WrestleMania in Atlanta, and he had this cool thing called Netflix streaming.
Yeah. Like
we were going through what was on there and powering. I'm like, oh my God, they're still making this. And when you can go to a screen, you go to a show, and it shows you like just one image of the show.
Right.
That one image was Tommy from the intro in a karate stance in the woods. And he's got short hair, short spiky hair, and he's got facial hair. I'm like, this guy's still on this?
What's going on? He's still in this show?
I'm like, I saw an episode of him in college, and he was still on this. That's what triggered me. I'm like, well, what has happened? Because I have not watched this in probably 10 years. What's happened? I turn on Dino Thunder and I go, well, okay, this is pretty cool in a nerdy kind of way. And then I showed it to you. I'm like, and I remember saying, we should watch it. Why the hell would we watch Power Rangers? I'm like, just watch the intro of Tommy. Yep. And we watch it and you go, it's not that bad. And now, is it rose-colored glasses because we're from that Mighty Morphin era and we like Tommy? Maybe. Probably. Definitely a little bit. I liked this season. I like the idea of kind of going back to what I said about Billy being a ranger and a mentor and this and that. That was what Tommy was in this season.
And I remember that shortly after, probably about maybe 2 years after we started getting back into Power Rangers, because now we're in college and we don't care what people think about us and stuff like that. And being a quote-unquote nerd became more trendy as Iron Man came out and stuff like that.
Yes.
That we saw a resurgence in Power Rangers. That's when the new toys started to come out.
Yes.
And all this stuff. And then guess what? They started selling like crazy because now all the old fans have money.
Yes, we do. Not enough, but we have it.
Well, we have enough to spend it on, toys and stuff like that.
We certainly do. So Tommy did earn a degree. He got a PhD from MIT in I can never say
paleontology.
There we go. He studied dinosaurs. That's what I wanted to do as a kid, but I work in human resources now. Go me. He gets Connor, Ethan, and Kira to be the new Dino Thunder Rangers, and no Pink Ranger. And that's led to a lot of fan fiction that maybe one of his boos had the powers to be a Pink Ranger, and they just never saw it. There's some interesting fan theories about that, some fan fiction about that. I think it's pretty cool.
That's an interesting theory, yeah.
So, and there's another one. Trent becomes the white Dino Thunder Ranger. Tommy becomes the black Dino Thunder Ranger because he's every color known to man. Why not give him a new color?
Black and gold. Why not?
It's a great color combo.
You think they made him the black and gold ranger because Jason was the gold ranger from Zeo, and he just was like, I need a suit like that, kind of?
From what I read, the options were kind of limited because they didn't want him to be the leader again in the script. They didn't want him to be the leader. The White Ranger was bad in Dino Thunder, so they didn't want him to be the bad guy again.
Anti-hero kind of thing.
Yeah, he already did that, and it also made sense for him to be the voice of reason for the bad ranger. To like, listen, I get it, I understand. So it was a cool colored ranger, just a black and gold, like Dan said, was awesome. He had a Brontosaurus Zord. I liked it. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I pronounce that wrong?
You said Brontosaurus. It's Brontosaurus.
I liked it because it reminded me of Titanus. There was a lot of callbacks to Mighty Morphin, and this was also the first season that had dinosaurs since season, I guess 2. Kind of had the dinosaur themes with it. I liked it. There's a very famous episode, full disclosure. This was going to be the episode I watched before we started to record, but I opted not to because it kind of would be a bummer for me. Tommy gets in a coma in this episode, and he has to fight his alter ego, Zeo Red, Mighty Morphin White and Green, because he's losing the will to live. And I'm not ready to watch that yet.
No, it's going to be a long time before I watch that episode because that tugs at the heartstrings already, just remembering that episode.
Yeah, but I will say that's the first time you see the Green Ranger since season 2. So that's been 10 years since you've seen the Green Ranger, and he's the last to show up. And even Tommy's reaction, as Tommy Oliver's reaction in his dream is, I thought I'd run into you. You knew it was happening.
And if it didn't happen, a lot of people were going to be disappointed.
Yeah, you fight Red Zeo first, and then White Mighty Morphin. You're like, he's gonna be. And I remember it so vividly. I haven't watched it in forever. There's the shot, and they set it up so good, is you see Tommy on... It's hard to describe. Tommy is in a hospital bed, and he's in a coma, and they're going to be going back into his mind, so they're zooming into him. But as they're doing it, you hear, like the other Rangers have called him out, like, Tommy. But this one has that evil laugh at the end of it. And you know before you even see it, because the aura of the dream is green, even before you see that, before you see the Dragon Dagger, just you hear that laugh for the first time in 10 years, you know what's about to happen. And it's one of the best moments in Power Rangers, I feel.
Really is. And I think, again, that season was so well done. I think it's really what reinvigorated not only my interest, but I think your interest in Power Rangers again.
It's a good season. Again, rose-colored glasses. Yeah, it's probably because he's in it. The Dino Thunder...
That's nostalgia. That's the whole point of what we do in these podcasts.
Yes, it is. The Dino Rangers had to give up their powers. They sacrificed them to blow up all the Zords, pretty much making way for the next season, but it's kind of showing the sacrifice Tommy and his team is willing to make. He decides to pursue a life as a normal science teacher until next year. So now we're into SPD, which takes place in 2025.
3 years.
As this recording is in December of 2022. So SPD right around the corner. So bad guy of SPD, Emperor Grum, he travels back in time to take over Earth without SPD, goes into the years of the Dino Thunder Rangers, and there they are. So it's a crossover. You don't see Tommy out of the suit. You just see the black Dino Thunder Ranger. Jason David Frank didn't sign up for this season. This is when he was training to be an MMA or was more into MMA. So he had prior obligations. I don't think there was any bad blood from what I read, because this is during the Disney-owned era. You don't really see Tommy, but the character is there.
Is Tommy, yeah.
Is Tommy. And there's an interesting, and I'm going to go over this at the end, because I don't want to give anything away. There is a spoiler for a comic later in this episode, even though we're kind of winding down. There's only 2 more appearances for Tommy. 2 episodes in 2 seasons. SPD Red Ranger Jack says that Tommy's services as a Power Ranger are well known in the future. Soul of the Dragon comic. I will get to that at the end. Have you read that, by the way?
No, not yet.
All right, you're gonna have to borrow mine because it is fantastic. We go a long while without seeing Tommy again. There's some mentions of him. I know in Operation Overdrive, Adam. How about that? Let's do a segue. Adam. The next episode we're going to do of this, we're going to do a few of these because we can't do every character because some characters don't have that long of an arc. Adam is one character we can do.
Yeah, he's got a lot of appearances.
He does. So he actually appears. We're not going to go too into it because we don't give everything away for our future episode. Operation Overdrive, Adam comes back and he mentions that Tommy's a doctor. I can't believe it. So he's mentioned in other episodes, but the next time,
such a great episode when Adam comes back.
It is both times.
It's both times. Yeah,
he comes back twice. So next time we see him is Super Megaforce.
Yeah,
oh boy,
Megaforce. Interesting concept. Not well executed.
Not at all. And that was when we got back into it. And when I say back into it, kind of like just reading about it and looking to see what's going on.
Watching the highlight episodes kind of thing.
Waiting for this episode to happen.
Yes.
The legendary battle.
Yes. So well done in Japan. Not so well done here in the U.S.
It wasn't, but you get to see Tommy. He comes out. He saves a kid from a car. He's got Saba in his hands, which is, again, now you're going, well, where does that come from? Because, again, they're supposed to be gone, these powers.
It's Power Rangers. Don't ask questions.
Exactly. So the legendary team, the legendary battle with every single Ranger happens. There's maybe a dozen or so Rangers that appear helmetless. Tommy, as the Green Ranger, is the leader of the army of old Rangers, the legendary Rangers. They go to battle. It's average. It's a quick cameo. And I think, actually, my research had me to believe that there was a lot of bad tastes in mouths from the people that were asked to go to it, and they didn't want to. They said they would have made more money going to work that day with their normal 9-to-5s than if they actually went and did this.
Yeah.
That is also why Tommy had the popularity, because he didn't do it for the money. Maybe he did. I don't know. But when you're hearing some people say, I don't want to go because of the money, he went regardless of the money because he was going to keep his name in the modern times of Power Rangers. So when his toys came out, the new kids wanted to get, I know who the Green Ranger is.
Yeah.
I know
who Tommy is.
I know who the original Green Ranger is. I don't know who the Green whatever random year is, but I know that one. I felt disappointed with this, but I got to see Tommy.
Right. So it wasn't all bad.
It wasn't all bad. Now we're well, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any feedback, or were you disappointed in, or what?
So Megaforce, I thought, was such a great concept for the Rangers where, again, if you haven't watched Power Rangers in a long time, you're just starting to get back into it. You watch Megaforce. They have a morpher where they use keys, and keys access different Power Ranger powers from different seasons. So they morph into Zeo, they morph into the original Mighty Morphin, straight through everybody. And I watched the Super Sentai version long before they got to the final battle with Megaforce, and I was like, wow, if they do even do half this, it's going to be amazing. And that's kind of what they did, except they did a quarter of that half. And it was just, it was so much build up, and everyone was so excited for it, and there were so many articles about it, and all these people are going to come back, and this one's going to be there, and that one's going to be there, and wait for it. And then it happened, and I was like, you missed it. You didn't quite get there. But I mean, it was cool. It was nostalgic, but you didn't do it justice.
Forever Red was better.
Forever Red was a much better reunion episode.
So it's funny you mentioned that they left out half of it. They literally did, because in the Japanese version, not only does every Ranger fight, every Megazord fights. And that was not even remotely hinted at in the American version. Nope. So that's what Dan meant by we didn't get half. We literally did not get half the battle. You got the battle with every Ranger against like their version of putties, generic drones, and then every Megazord fights, and we didn't get that. And speaking of Megazords, the original script for Forever Red had every Red Ranger's Zord combining to make a new Megazord, and that what takes down Serpentera, excuse me. And that didn't happen either. So twice we were robbed of an ultra super Megazord, one with all Red Rangers, one with just everybody's Ranger, every Zord, every Megazord fighting. We were robbed twice, Dan. I think we kind of made up for it, and I said in the beginning of the show, I did watch an episode of Tommy. This was the episode, Super Ninja Steel, Season 25. I watched it because I thought to myself, this character has had, not every year, but period of time, 25 years. This character has had a arc. This is an awesome way for the character of Tommy Oliver to end. Season 25, Super Ninja Steel. Tommy's captured. He is replaced with a robot duplicate. He traps other Rangers. It's important to point out it's Kat and it's Rocky. In the beginning of it, he calls out for his son that's at home, JJ.
Yep.
Canon now confirmed Tommy has a son. If you watch it, you could see that Tommy has a wedding ring on. So he's married, but I thought for certain in the episode it was Kat. I think there's an extended cut. I could have sworn I know there's an extended cut where, well, I'll get to that in a moment. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll get to the extended cut at the end. The most badass thing I think Tommy has ever done. Mm-hmm. He does, and you're saying yes because you know what's about to be said.
I know what it is. It's the coolest thing ever.
He pulls out a Master Morpher, and it's the Mighty Morphin Morpher. It's all gold, kind of like his Green Ranger Morpher.
Yep.
But he doesn't morph Mighty Morphin style. He yells out, Zeo Ranger 5. And he morphs with a Zeo Ranger power coin.
Yep.
And then he fights, and then he stops, and then he calls out Tiger Zord, and he morphs into the White Ranger. And then he stops, and he morphs into the Green Mighty Morphin Ranger. Master Morpher is badass. But there's more. During the final fight, he fights as Green, morphs into White, and summons the Falcon Zord.
Yep.
Where has that been?
In a volcano somewhere, just like all the other ones.
Where has that been? And who's building these things?
Billy.
Yes, that's how I want to build it. Exactly.
He's tinkering. He's been tinkering this whole time.
He's been tinkering
rebuilding
for a
Zords.
long time. Rebuild it. Who made the Master Morpher? Where did he get it from? What source is he tapping into? These are nerdy questions we need answered to. The easiest solution is Billy I've been bored. I'm a genius.
I've been tinkering.
So, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I get Ninja Steel wasn't great of a season. It was good, but that episode put it over the top. That Master Morpher alone just made that whole season kind of worth it.
Yes.
I think it was one of the coolest ideas where somehow, some way, he got this Mega Morpher that he can tap into every power he's ever had. A little bit like Mega Force, but his own style.
Yeah, I never put two and two together. This is after Megaforce.
Megaforce's
powers are out there now. Maybe he reverse engineered. Maybe Billy reverse engineered. That's a very good idea because it is very similar to that. There we go.
100% he could have reverse engineered, or Billy could have reverse engineered the Megaforce Morpher into something that could access an individual Ranger's powers as long as he's possessed them before, and maybe in quick bursts. That's why he kept having to change.
Well, it's funny you mention that because now I am going to go into the Soul of Dragon comic, which I don't know is canon. Before I do, this is how Tommy Oliver's story ends for the most part, is this episode. He has a son. He's got the Master Morpher. He is married. I mean, Kat's in the episode. I could have sworn there is an extended version where he actually does morph into Dino Thunder Black and fights in the same battle, so he does the quick bursts.
Right.
I could have sworn that there was a scene where Kim and Kat are walking together. Maybe it's my own mind's fan fiction. I don't know. But he's got a son, got a wedding ring on, and Kat's in the episode.
We could put two and two together and assume.
Yeah. Assume. So I'm going to jump into something. I don't know where the comics are in terms of canon, considering what's on the horizon for Power Rangers. The next season at the time of this recording is Oh my God, Cosmic Fury. I almost forgot the name. That would be bad. Good job hosting. Cosmic Fury, and they've already brought back Lord Zed. Kind of hint. Well, they haven't hinted. The original cast is coming back. There's some tweaks. Austin St. John, unfortunately, has had some legal trouble, so he's not going to be in it. Trini, the original Yellow Ranger, unfortunately, has passed on. So it's going to be a hodgepodge of the Mighty Morphin crew. First time Billy's coming back. First time Zach's coming back. We've both met them at Comic-Cons. Both were very nice. Actually, we've met almost everybody in this. They've all been very nice to us.
Tremendously nice.
It looks like Adam is wearing an SPD uniform in one of the promotional photos. Soul of the Dragon comic is Tommy's son, JJ, older.
And they're having Trini's son.
Yes.
Daughter, sorry.
So in the comic, Tommy is beat up. He is old, beat up, and he still has the Master Morpher, but it gets damaged. His son is kind of an undercover agent, kind of not, so on and so forth. This is spoilers. And there's the dramatic pause and the opportunity to pause. He tries to find his son, but his Master Morpher is broken. He can only morph one last time. And they actually do have the red turbo in this.
Okay.
But it's reverse order, starting with Dino Thunder working its way backwards.
Oh.
So he has to also time things of, well, Dino Thunder has invisibility and Turbo can go fast and White Ranger is just cool looking and whatever. So he has to go backward. Final battle happens. I will not spoil who the final villain is because that surprised me. But they're fighting and his son, JJ, is in trouble, throws him the morpher. The last morph is obviously the Green Ranger. Morphs. His son does a good job. His son joins SPD, says, I want to be the Green SPD Ranger, and he has the Dragon Shield.
That's interesting.
That's interesting considering season 30's coming up. Zed is back. The team is back. Adam looks like an SPD Ranger in like the outfit they wear when they're not morphed. I mean, SPD in storyline is 2025. We're not that far off. So that was a lot, Dan. That was a lot of Tommy Oliver.
That was a lot. Well, we also glossed over his kind of non-canon appearances, where in the movie that came out, I want to say in 2017, the kind of reboot movie, he had a cameo with Kimberly at the very end.
Absolutely, yep.
There was also, if anybody knows the company Bat in the Sun, where they do these kind of live action death battles between different characters. He played the White and Green Ranger, and he fought Ryu.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Great episode of that. And the last one, and I found out about this about a week ago. Apparently there's a new independent movie that Jason David Frank made. Austin St. John is in it. I forget who else is in it, but I think it's a lot of other Power Rangers. It's called The Legend of the White Dragon. I don't think they finished it, but I think they finished enough of it that they're going to be able to release it.
He did that live action like promo for Lord. I don't know how to say his name. Lord Draken, which is from the comics. I don't think it's canon in the TV show universe. I mean, I wanted it to be, but
amazing trailer.
You can't do it now though without him. That's another topic for another day. We're here to just show our appreciation for the 25 years of Tommy Oliver, of Jason David Frank. It's bittersweet to do this,
but it's good to do.
It's good to do. We were going to do it anyway. The next one's going to be Adam, and Adam has quite a legacy. Second Mighty Morphin Black, Zeo Ranger, Turbo Ranger, came back in space, came back in Operation Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically you would say he was in Super Mega Force 2. I mean, I guess everybody was technically in Super Mega Force. It's going to be a fun character to do as well. Met Adam also. He was very nice. Awesome signature, too.
Yeah, he had a cool signature.
He certainly did. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up, Dan?
It's hard to believe that moving forward there won't be the potential for Tommy Oliver to come back. Did they set up his son? Sure, which would be great if the legacy could live on through a different actor playing Tommy Oliver's son. But it's hard being a fan of Power Rangers and knowing that one of the staples of the Power Rangers, the reason you liked Power Rangers growing up, the reason you got back into Power Rangers when you got a little older, just won't be there anymore. And, like Lou said, this is a bittersweet episode to make, but the least we can do is say thank you and remember him fondly.
Exactly. So with that being said, I think it's time for us to wrap this one up. We will be back with a Adam retrospective. Adam Park, like I said, second Mighty Morphin Black Ranger. We got some more things coming up on the channel here at Generation S. We're going to do that Mario Kart episode eventually, I promise. We're going to do it.
One day.
Well, we also figured out how to record footage.
Okay.
We're, full disclosure, we tell all our listeners this. This is a beer money project. We all work full time.
Some of us 2 jobs.
Some of us 2 jobs. I feel like I have 3 jobs. We're not going to sit here and edit videos for hours upon hours upon hours.
Not yet, unless you guys make us really, really popular, and then
yes,
we'll start committing to doing that.
Yes, we're doing this as a fun project, but we figured out how to get some video on here, especially for the video game reviews, so that's going to be coming your way. Obviously, the regularly scheduled podcasts are going to be coming out as well. We do have, on the wrestling side, we do have the professional view of wrestling. Me and Dan Kemp did the first episode of that, was ECW funded by WWE. Might not be your cup of tea, but please do us a favor. If you have somebody that you think might be interested in that, please let them know. We also have a ECW retrospective coming out as well. That should be up shortly, if not already up. Then we got some more things up and coming out in 2023. We like the holiday episodes, we like the seasonal episodes. It's going to be fun, and we appreciate. We just got over 2,000 views on YouTube. Like I said, if you have any comments, suggestions, please let us know below. That's the only way we can give out content based on what you guys want to see. Suggestions, questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff. So, Dan, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Thanks for having me, Lou.
Anytime. So we'll be back shortly with a upload on Adam, second Mighty Morphin Black Ranger. Again, in closing, Jason, David Frank, thank you so much. To the family, thank you so much. We will give you nothing but our best wishes, and we will see you guys down the road. Thank you.